Well, it's the end of 2024, which means it's time to talk about the 10 films that were the biggest stinkers this year. Couple of notes before we get started. One, if you liked these movies, good on you. In fact, I'm glad you found enjoyment of these movies. I just didn't, and so I'm just going to talk about how much I didn't like them. And secondly, there could and probably would be more movies on this list, but I didn't choose to see some of them just because a lot of these I knew they'd be bad, and I just don't want to watch bad movies on purpose. A lot of it is just like, is it really as bad as it looks? And unfortunately, in the case of these 10, yes, they absolutely were. And also, expect the unexpected with this list. Like Joker 2, Kung Fu Panda 4, Despicable Me 4, and Mufasa, none of those are on this list. Yeah, there were worse movies than those. Listen, as it is, Megalopolis is a terrible movie. It is so structurally incoherent, and it makes no sense, and it's so hard to follow, and there's just so much happening, and none of it makes sense. But it's so entertaining to watch, and I had an absolute blast watching this in IMAX with a couple of my friends. And a lot of that is not because it's trying to be funny or entertaining. There's a couple bits where it's definitely trying to be that, but a lot of this movie is just so baffling and insane that you can't help but laugh because it's so funny. This is the perfect movie to where if you want to just throw on a movie and make fun of it with some of your friends, this is the perfect movie for that. But as it is, Megalopolis is not good. I feel like Venom: The Last Dance did not have that much to live up to. Like the first Venom movie, it's not my favorite. It's a bit tonally inconsistent. The second one I thought was a lot more entertaining because it just committed to being goofy and silly and fun, and that's all I wanted out of Venom: The Last Dance. I'm not looking for a masterpiece. I'm not looking for some magnum opus. I just want something fun and dumb and bombastic, and I was just checked out from minute one of this movie. It starts off with this big bad in the faraway place, sending his minions to do his bidding, and unfortunately, it never comes back to him. Like, yes, it cuts back to him every now and then throughout the story, but he never makes a real presence in the movie. And so, how am I supposed to get invested when nothing is really developing with him? And then I'm supposed to care about this relationship and dynamic between Eddie and the symbiote, and it's really taking itself seriously, and it's dramatic, and it's trying to be emotional, and it just doesn't work at all. I think the icing on the cake with this movie, with how bad it was the little montage at the end of Eddie and the symbiote's relationship set to Memories by Maroon 5. Chef's kiss. Argyle had one of the worst trailers I've ever seen, and it was everywhere, and at first I was just grateful to watch this movie so I wouldn't have to watch that trailer again because it's so bad. And I do think Matthew Vaughn's style does lend to certain kinds of stories, and he obviously has a passion for these spy stories. Like Kingsman works really well in his style. It's very flashy, very bombastic and energetic. Argyle doesn't really fit that to me. And I get what it's going for, you know, the spoof, the meta commentary on spy novels, but with every passing moment in scene in this movie, it presents some new plot reveal or twist or turn, and it drives the story. Those plot points and reveals and twists and turns drive the story, and it was so inconsistent and incoherent and just all over the place, and I wanted to enjoy this, but the story is so hard to follow, and the main plot twist is so obvious, and everybody can see it coming, and it's just whatever, man. This is tough. This is tough making this video. Here's an interesting idea on paper. That's the end of the sentence. Nah, what begins as a novel idea is ultimately bogged down by a lot of uninteresting subplots, constant time jumps that were just jarring, and one of the worst screenplays of the year. And it felt like a shower thought that got made into a movie Like Robert Zemeckis just in the shower. He's like, dude, what if we made a movie that was like all in the same place? I think the biggest thing that this film gave me was an appreciation for the visual language of cinema and how we can use different framings and angles and close-ups or distances with the camera or movements to really emphasize character, to emphasize story, to create drama, to pull the audience into the characters and the story. And this film had none of that. I'm going to keep this one brief. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was just a massive nothing movie. And it is kind of disappointing because I did like Ghostbusters Afterlife quite a bit, but for the majority of this movie, nothing is going on. And it's just people talking in rooms trying to figure out what to do. And it was just boring. And even in the final bit of the movie where stuff is happening, you know, the third act and the final battle and all of that, it's just oddly paced and it's all crammed into this final 20 minutes and it's just not great. I am definitely not going to talk about Amelia Perez for too long because I want to keep my toes out of this water, but I found it to be completely tasteless, baffling, obnoxious. It gains nothing from being a musical. Like, why? The songs aren't even that good. And I just have a lot of frustrations with it, but I'll spare you my thoughts. I don't know why this is resonating so well with awards bodies. I don't know why this is getting nominated. This is flaming hot garbage, and I hated it. The only thing that does keep this from being lower is some pretty competent filmmaking. Like, obviously, the cinematography is nice. There is some great acting, but that's about it. Borderlands did the impossible for me, because it's not very often I go to the theater and have zero fun. But I had zero fun with Borderlands. Every beat in this film was predictable, whether it was a comedic beat, whether it was a jump scare, whether it was a story or a plot twist or whatever. Every beat was just so predictable. I saw it all coming a mile away. It's just such a nothing movie. I did think Ariana Greenblatt had a lot of good energy and shows a lot of promise as a lead or somebody that can carry a movie. But unfortunately, it's in this piece of garbage and it's... Man, Borderlands is bad. I'm sitting here reading my Letterboxd review for Night Swim, which I saw January 13th, 2024, more than 11 months ago. And I don't remember a single thing about this movie. Not a single thing. I mean, I guess I remember there's some weird girl in the drain of the pool. She was like stuck there. I remember Wyatt Russell's in this movie. I remember Oscar nominee Carrie Condon is in this movie for some reason. But man, I couldn't tell you a single thing about this movie. Yeah, you had to see this coming. Kraven the Hunter really is that bad. Instead of telling you how bad this movie is, because I did just drop a review for this movie, I want to tell you a story. All right? So, I had a ticket to go see this at 10:20 a.m. in IMAX at my local AMC on the Friday it was supposed to release. When I'm eating breakfast that morning, and I'm looking at other showtimes just to see what else is playing at my local AMC, because I am an AMC Stubs A-list member, I noticed that only one IMAX showing was there for Kraven the Hunter. I remember there being like 4 or 5. And the only IMAX showing was 10 p.m. I was like, well, I guess that means my ticket is obsolete. So I keep scrolling to look at showtimes, and I'm like, man, what did they give the IMAX screens to? Maybe Wicked, maybe Moana 2, because, you know, those are popular movies that had IMAX releases. They're making a lot of money at the box office. Maybe they'd give them back to them. No, they gave it to the re-release of Interstellar, a film that has been out for 10 years. I feel like that's pretty telling with how bad this movie is. I feel so bad for you, Dakota Johnson. Madam Web. Oh, that was a movie I saw. Listen, I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it was, but I watched it out of curiosity and also because I'm a Marvel guy and I feel like I just have to watch these movies for the plot now. I just got to keep up with the lore. And it So, I'm just going to go on an uncut rant. The entire premise of Madame Web's powers is that she can see what's about to happen just before it happens. When she like walks into a room or goes to a place, something like that. She sees what's about to happen, and it's usually that these three girls are about to die. Okay, so the movie shows you this. And so from there are only two possibilities. One, what the film has shown us actually happens, and so they die. Or the opposite happens, in that they live and they make it out. That's it. The movie is constantly spoiling itself. And it's pretty obvious to know what is what. If you're at the halfway point of the movie, the girls are about to lose this battle. If you're at the end of this movie, the girls are about to win. It's pretty obvious how the story goes, and it's so baffling that this film is driven on this storytelling device that is constantly spoiling itself and revealing the next plot point. It is ridiculous. It is asinine, and I can't handle it. That a real Hollywood studio put this out and greenlit this script. I can't believe it. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. And then you mix that up with some laughable cinematography, horrid editing, and them actually cutting the line, "He was with my mom while she was in the Amazon researching spiders just before she died," which I was so looking forward to hearing that line. They cut it out. You mix all of that up together, and you get a cinematic disaster that we all saw coming, and yet still found ways to disappoint. Congrats, Sony. You did it. You did it. You saved cinema. Good job. I can't begin to tell you how exhausting this video was to make. Please like and subscribe. Please. For me, if nothing else. But seriously, thank you guys so much for watching. I will have my best movies of the year video out soon. There are a few movies I want to watch beforehand just to give them a chance to be on the list. So I will have that soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss that. That'll be coming out soon. Thanks again so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.